Hey everyone, Nick here from Nick's Taxes, and today I want to talk about UBI a little bit more. Although it might not officially be called UBI, this looks like where we're going to be going. And so I want to talk today a little bit about the income that is on the table, how much you might receive as a UBI recipient, and why I think there might be an issue with the current levels compared to the current wages that are out there for Canadian workers. So before we get into the content, if you're new to the channel, how's it going? I'm Nick. I make videos on personal tax, finance, and investing for Canadians. So if that's of interest to you, please hit the subscribe button. And if you get value out of this video, give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate that. But let's jump into the content. So in my previous videos, I've been talking a little bit more about the potential of a universal basic income in Canada. Before, there was a new bill on the table, Bill C-273, and that was for a UBI, basically a guaranteed basic income for all Canadians getting $2,000 a month. And then Canadians who were already above that threshold would get $500 per month. That income would be tax-free, and it would just help Canadians, be financially better off and help them through this current crisis that we're experiencing here in Canada. This is obviously based off of the CERB and the CRB being $2,000 a month. They're saying, hey, instead of getting rid of this program when COVID ends, why don't we just let the good times roll and keep this going on a permanent basis for our citizens? Except let's make this so that everyone can access it, not just those who were working and affected by the pandemic. Let's include seniors, let's include those on disability, let's include the regular working folk. And so that was on the table. President Trudeau came out and said he doesn't really see a path for UBI. It's just kind of been talks. But then a couple weeks ago, the Liberals came out and overwhelmingly supported the thought of a UBI in Canada going forward. So that put a little bit more traction on this whole UBI conversation. And so going back to Bill 273, they are looking at a $2,000 minimum income for everyone per month, which comes to $24,000 per year. And again, that would be tax-free. Well, we can talk about the pros and cons of UBI. I think I will be doing that in future videos because you guys seem to really be interested in this conversation, and I see a lot of great dialogue happening in the comments. A lot of you are for it and a lot of you are against it, and a lot of you have very strong opinions if you are for or against it. So I want to keep the conversation rolling, but I'm going to bring up something that I just think is worth looking at as Canadians, basically, in our wages. One of the conversations that was happening with UBI and has been talked about in the past has been the incentive for Canadians to continue to work despite receiving a guaranteed income. People were saying, if you're going to give us X amount of money, the incentive for those people to work, and especially for those working low-paying jobs, isn't going to be there. We're going to see high turnover. We're going to see very low supply for the demand of these type of jobs. Think of your McDonald's jobs. Think of those who help out small businesses. Companies that don't pay their employees a lot for the work, maybe because they're not high value offering work, or maybe these businesses just don't have the funds to pay these people better wages. Either or, doesn't really matter. What I want to look at today is just kind of crunching some numbers and just take a look at how that looks for us as Canadians. So a $24,000 tax-free guaranteed basic income for all Canadians. That, when you work it out, I assumed an average work schedule of 240 work days per year and a 7.5 hour workday. If you received $24,000 per year and you received, and you had those amount of work days and worked those amount of hours, it would work out to be about $13.33 an hour. Now that's right around our minimum wage. It's a little bit less, but when you consider the fact that this is tax-free, it's actually better than receiving $24 or $24,000 per year that's taxable, because you're not paying any tax on it. If you wanted to receive a $24,000 a year take-home pay, That would mean in Ontario, because every province is different, in Ontario, you would need to earn about $28,800 to get home $24,000, so that you're basically on par with those who are receiving that guaranteed basic income. If you were working and received $28,800 and using the same formula as before, your hourly wage would be about $16 an hour. So you'd be making just under $3 more per hour than what someone could make, just sitting at home doing. The other thing I want to look at is for a lot of these Canadians coming out of school, those who have paid about $40,000 in tuition for a higher education, whether you're in college or university. Coming out of college, a lot of people see starting wages around $40,000, maybe a little bit less, and there has been more and more of a shift into these contract sort of workers. So it's becoming increasingly harder to, one, get a good job out of post-secondary with a good wage, and two, land a good job that is on a permanent basis. A lot of these jobs are good jobs, but they are just contracts, either 6 months or a year, and then kind of the hope is that you prove yourself during that period of time, and then they keep you on a full-time basis. The other thing is, a lot of these jobs don't pay as much. You might see some sales jobs and stuff closer to $30,000 or $35,000 per year. But let's say you went to school, you worked hard, and you found a job at $40,000 per year. At $40,000 per year, using that same formula, your hourly wage would be about $22.22. That means you would be making $8 and almost closer to $9, let's say $8.90 more per hour than you would if you just decided not to go to school and collect the basic wage. So this is kind of where I have some issues, is I'm looking at people who are going to school, working hard, challenging themselves, going through 2-4 years of school, not making an income or earning very little income, to get a job that is going to pay $8 more than what they could have, from not doing anything. And that $40,000 would be taxable. So when you consider taxes, that $8.89 extra that you're receiving is actually less, because now you're going to be taxed more than you would if you're just receiving that basic income. So when I'm looking at that and I'm going back on my, career as a university student and the stress and the hard hours and all that kind of stuff that I had to put into it to get to where I am, to finish that and come out only a little bit better off than someone who might make $24,000 a year tax-free, to me isn't really worth it. Yes, you're going to be working in a job, hopefully, where you see a nice career trajectory. So the longer you're working, the more you're going to receive in income, and eventually, after years of hard work in your career, you're going to make a good wage where it definitely will become worth it. But those first few years, there is a much smaller gap between the benefits of going to school and getting a higher paid wage job or collecting this minimum income. And so for some of these students or younger people, we're not as far sighted. It might not be worth it to go to school. They might not see that benefit. I think for a more incentive for those to go to school, sure, maybe you get paid while you're in school, but also the jobs, they're going to have to increase their wages to make it worthwhile for these kids to go to school and study and to land these sort of jobs, because receiving these $24,000 a year at basic minimum, that might just be enough for people to be comfortable to sit at home and then maybe just collect cash jobs or do stuff under the table or do stuff on the side, rather than going through the hard work of not only getting a job and getting an education, but also once you're in that job, the hours that you have to do and the stress and stuff that you might take on within that job. Is it actually worth working that kind of job for a little bit extra cash compared to not? And that's going to be a big question, and I have to see, the only thing I can think of is just increasing the wages for these kind of jobs. But at the same time, then if you increase those wages, then you kind of start to see everything else increase. Companies are going to start charging more for their products or services because they have to pay their employees. And then other companies are going to have to do the same thing because now they're paying more for those products or those services. And then we start seeing things gradually increase in price, where therefore we kind of see sort of an inflation where, you know, that $24,000 isn't going to travel as far as it does right now. And so we might see that issue again, where those who were behind and we're paying these people so that they can catch up actually still end up behind or even further behind. So that's my thoughts today on the current UBI. Right now the CRB is extended up until September of 2021, and there are heavy talks in Parliament, and my prediction is that they're going to keep extending it to the point where it becomes permanent. Now, what that means for eligibility and all that kind of stuff, we won't know. We have no idea until something is on the table. But I definitely see something like this happening to the point where we might see a UBI. I don't know, and I'm not certain that this bill C-273 will pass, but something similar in terms of a perpetual guaranteed $2,000 a month for people who need it, and a continuation of these CERB benefits, I definitely see in our future. And to be honest, I think that might have been the plan all along. Anyway, I'm Nick from Nick's Taxes. If you got value out of this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next video. Happy taxing.